Does the Bible really condemn all premarital sex, or have we misunderstood ancient scriptures for centuries? What if I told you there are Bible passages that not only acknowledge sex before marriage, but even regulate it without outright condemnation? Today, we're diving deep into 5 shocking Bible verses that challenge everything you've been taught about sex and sin. Let's get into it. You've probably heard it a million times. The Bible forbids sex before marriage. Pastors preach it, churches enforce it, and believers accept it as absolute truth. But is it really that simple? What exactly does the Bible teach about sex? According to Christian doctrine, sex before marriage constitutes a moral transgression. Religious leaders often declare through numerous warnings that the Bible explicitly bans premarital sex, while painting chastity as the sole path to righteousness. But here's the twist. An in-depth study of religious texts reveals multiple perspectives on the matter. Some sections emphasize marital purity, while others suggest premarital sex wasn't always seen as sinful. In fact, in certain cases, it was integrated into cultural systems with specific guidelines. Today we're examining 5 Bible passages that demonstrate how the traditional opposition to premarital sex requires deeper contextual analysis. 1. Exodus 22:16-17. If a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall give the bride price for her and make her his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money equal to the bride price for virgins. Exodus 22:16-17. This verse flips the narrative. Many assume that premarital sex was outright forbidden in ancient Israelite society, but this law offers a more complex view. Here we see that if a man seduces a woman who is not engaged and they sleep together, the solution is not public shame, banishment, or execution. Instead, it involves compensation, payment of a bride price, and possibly marriage if the father approves. But the most important detail? There is no punishment for the act itself. The Bible doesn't condemn them to death or shame the woman. Rather, it focuses on honoring her family and restoring social order. In other words, the concern is cultural and economic, not necessarily moral sin. Even more interesting, if the father refuses the marriage, the man still must pay. So premarital sex was treated like a civil matter, not a spiritual crime. 2. Deuteronomy 21:10-14. When you go out to war against your enemies, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire her and take her as your wife, then you shall bring her home to your house. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. Deuteronomy 21:10-14 abridged. This is one of the most controversial laws in the Torah, and yet it says so much about the culture of the time. After conquering enemies in war, Israelite men were permitted to take captive women as wives. The process included mourning, shaving her head, trimming her nails, and a waiting period. After that, the man could sleep with her. But let's be honest, there was no wedding ceremony in the modern sense. The man could go into her and then decide if he wanted to keep her. If he changed his mind, he had to let her go. Not sell her, not enslave her. Let her go free. Now, ask yourself this. Was this sex after a formal marriage? Not really. The union was informal, physical first, and official only afterward, and yet this practice was regulated, not outlawed. That's a strong indication that the Bible's laws were concerned more with justice and dignity after sex, not forbidding the sex itself. 3. Genesis 24. Let's turn to one of the Bible's most famous love stories, Isaac and Rebekah. Then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Genesis 24:67. Notice something strange? There is no priest, no formal wedding, no vow exchange, no public witnesses. Rebekah was brought to Isaac, they consummated the relationship in a tent, and that is what made them husband and wife. So what defines marriage here? Not the ceremony, but the act of sex itself. This biblical story implies that sex could seal a covenant, not violate one. It wasn't sex before marriage, it was sex as marriage. The modern church says, don't have sex until your wedding night, but this text suggests that the act itself was the wedding night, and God honored it. 4. Ruth and Boaz. She came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. And he said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." Ruth 3:7-9. This is one of the most romantic and mysterious stories in the Bible. Ruth goes to Boaz in the dead of night. She lies beside him. She uncovers his feet, a Hebrew euphemism that some scholars believe implied sexual intention. Was there sex on the threshing floor? We cannot say with certainty. But the structure, language, and tension of the scene strongly suggest some level of intimacy occurred before any formal marriage. And how does the Bible treat this act? Boaz doesn't shame her. God doesn't strike her down. Instead, Ruth becomes part of the lineage of King David and ultimately Jesus Christ. Her actions, whether sexual or symbolic, were not punished, they were honored. 5. Song of Solomon. The Song of Songs, the Bible's most erotic book, speaks boldly of love, desire, and sensual passion. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. Draw me after you, let us run. The king has brought me into his chambers. Song of Songs 1-4. There is no mention of marriage vows, no altar, no family approval, just raw, poetic, uninhibited passion between lovers. Throughout the entire book, the man and woman desire each other, chase each other, and speak in deeply erotic metaphors, yet never once are they formally described as married. Traditional scholars will say it's a symbolic picture of Christ and the church. But that doesn't change the fact that the language is physical, intimate, and celebratory. The woman in the poem seeks her lover in the night. She praises his body. He calls her my bride, but not in a legal or formal way. It's emotional, relational, private. This challenges the idea that only married people can enjoy sexual expression. Now, let's be clear. This video is not saying the Bible promotes sexual chaos or encourages us to ignore purity, but what it does say is this. The Bible speaks about sex with far more nuance than many modern churches allow. Premarital sex in some cases was treated as a civil issue, not always a spiritual one. Sexual acts sometimes initiated marriage, they didn't violate it. Female consent, cultural traditions, and honor were more central than modern purity formulas. And God, in many stories, brought redemption out of situations that did not fit our religious checklists. Too many people have left the church because they couldn't live up to a legalistic idea of purity. Too many carry guilt for things the Bible never clearly condemned. Too many women have been shamed for sexuality while their male counterparts walked free. And too many Christians today use selective interpretation to control, not to love. But if God could bless Ruth's midnight courage, honor Isaac's bedroom covenant, and sing about desire through Solomon's poetry, then maybe it's time we stop weaponizing scripture and start reading it with open eyes and honest hearts. Sex is sacred, it is powerful, and yes, it is best handled with care, wisdom, and covenant. But as we've seen today, the Bible's view on sex before marriage is not simplistic. It is contextual, cultural, and human. What matters to God is not just timing, but truth, responsibility, and love. So before we pass judgment, before we condemn someone's past, before we reduce the Bible to a list of do and don't rules, let's remember this. God sees the heart, and in every story we've explored today, even the ones that begin with scandal or uncertainty, God found a way to bring redemption. If this video made you think differently about the Bible even just a little, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this perspective. Drop a comment below. Which of these stories surprised you the most? And don't forget to subscribe for more honest, fearless explorations of Scripture right here on this channel. We're not here to distort the Bible, we're here to read it deep. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep seeking truth.